Hello and welcome to episode 42 of the 1/160 of the Second Photography Podcast. Today's podcast I'm going to be talking about camera bags and the agony and ecstasy I experience with camera bags. So why would you have a camera bag? Well, simply you have a camera bag because you want to take your gear somewhere. So why not just use a standard bag? Well, you could use a standard bag, but your gear is likely to get knocked about, and if you're spending a lot of money on a camera, if you're spending a lot of money on lenses, I'm guessing you want to spend a little bit more money and protect that gear when you go out. If you're having a DSLR with just a lens on or a mirrorless with just a lens on, then you can get sort of cases that they go in, sort of wraparound cases. But if you're taking more than one lens, a few accessories, a tripod, some cards, some ND filters, maybe you might feel that you need a bespoke bag for that. And you can get bags that do many things, but most people are going to want a camera bag to take their camera gear in because it offers that protection, it offers quick access, and it offers a few other things compared to a standard bag. Now, if you're like me, you've probably got lots of camera bags because you can't find the right camera bag. So what are the types of camera bags? Well, they generally fall into three categories. They generally fall into backpack, rucksack style camera bags, messenger bags, which are over the shoulder, or sling bags, which more like a rucksack but have just one strap. If it's on your back, you can swing it around to, it's at your belly and you can easily get things out. Well, that's the idea anyway. I've never found they work particularly well. So I of course have all three styles of bags. I have several messenger bags, I have several backpacks, and I have a sling bag, and I never use the sling bag. The problem I find with camera bags, and maybe you find this or maybe you don't and think I'm crazy in what I'm going to say, but I find the problem is the Goldilocks problem. You might buy a camera bag that can take the vast majority of your kit, but then if you travel light, it's going to be far too big and far too cumbersome. Again, if you get a small bag which would aid you traveling light, you're not going to be able to carry a lot of kit. So there is this Goldilocks conundrum, and I've never found a bag that will serve me for most of my photographic journeys, or most of the journeys that I take my camera or camera gear along for. I can just never find the right bag. I've got a really good bag that's quite small, but again, it does limit me in what I can take. I have a really good bag that can take a couple of lenses, a couple of camera bodies, etc. But generally that's too big. And the other thing with camera bags is you don't want it to be obvious that you've got loads of camera gear in. I mean, camera bags are expensive in themselves, but you don't want them to be an advert for gear that you've got that's going to be expensive and you don't want stolen. I did get a really good camera bag that was a messenger bag, and it had a zip at the top, so you didn't have to open it. You could just unzip it and put your hand in and get things you wanted. It was good because it had a bottom section for a tripod, but it was so obviously a camera bag. It was a Manfrotto camera bag, and it had a massive M embroidered into it, and it was big and it was red, and it was just obviously a camera bag. So it was a really good bag, but I absolutely never used it because it was so obvious that I'm walking around with camera gear. So it didn't get used and eventually got sold. I think I lost some money on that, unfortunately. There are two types of scenarios when I go out doing photography. One is I'm just taking a small camera with me because I'm doing street photography, or I want to be really mobile. So if I go into London to do a shoot with someone, I'm going to take a camera and one, maybe two lenses, no more. I'm going to take maybe the memory card that's in the camera and a backup memory card. I'm going to take my Kindle to read on the train. And I'm not going to take much more. I'm not going to take water. I'm not going to take anything like that. I'm just going to take those very basic things. But that does limit me when I get to the shoot. I can't use flash because I haven't brought flash. If I did bring a flash, well, I want a modifier. If I do have a modifier, well, I want a light stand, and so on and so forth. I mean, I can't even if I use a big bag, because I don't have one of those like suitcase things, and I feel they would be impractical. If I have a big bag, I can't fit everything in anyway. Some bags can hold a tripod or a light stand. They tend to be the bigger ones, of course, but then it's a struggle to get everything in. So you might as well take a big duffel bag, really. If you have a big duffel bag, you can fit in a light stand, you can fit in all your gear, flashes, modifiers, etc. But then it becomes incredibly heavy. It becomes a real chore going on the tube, going to different locations. It becomes a real problem. So of course we've got to balance that. So I know if I'm going into London for street photography or a natural light portrait shoot, I pick a bag, I pick a small bag, and I say, that's the bag I'm taking, and I'm taking nothing else. And I will cram that bag with lots of things, and I will go in. And I'm thankful when I walk around, I'm on the tube, that I've got a light bag. I take the methodology of, here's a bag, if I can't fit it in the bag, then I don't take it. And I find that works well. But if I'm doing a portrait shoot, again, on location, and I want to bring flashes and stuff, then 9 times out of 10, I'll opt to drive, because I can then put a big camera bag in my car, I can put a light stand in my car, I can put a modifier in the boot. Even though I've got a small car, I can fit those things in. Where I can, I'll drive to avoid the conundrum of bags. Your use and the practicalities of a photography bag are very scenario based. Let's say you have a micro four thirds system, then a small to medium bag is better than a large bag. You don't need a large bag. If you have a DSLR and you're doing landscape shooting and you are required to do a lot of hiking to get to the place you want to be, then really you could take a lot of kit, but you're probably going to want to travel as light as you can. You're probably going to want to carry a tripod, and that's going to be a lot of weight. You're probably not going to carry many lenses. You're probably going to carry more things like ND filters, polarizers, etc. Do you need to carry the lenses? I mean, I don't do that style of shoot. I see some people, they've got a tripod, got a drone, got other things, they've got a massive amount, and then they've got a hike to get there. That really puts me off. I don't want to be doing that. That's the last thing I want to do. I wouldn't find that enjoyable, hence why I don't do it. And I think as well, if you just travel with a compact camera, a Sony RX100, Olympus TG5 Tough. Talking about camera bags doesn't fit that scenario of using a compact camera, simply because the cameras are so small, you're more using a case. Camera bags really only are applicable for discussions with interchangeable lens cameras, or if you're carrying a tripod. They feel like a necessary evil. I'm never happy, but I wouldn't want to be without them. So what are the advantages of a camera bag over just a general bag, really? So the advantages are, well, they're generally waterproof to some degree. They're either waterproof material, or they're splash proof, or they've got this cover built in that is generally down the back, so you can pull out sort of a big yellow waterproof cover and put it over the bag, and it's bespoke to that bag. Of course, you could take a bin bag with you, and I'm sure you could buy third-party cover, or just put a plastic bag over it, or anything like that. But it's not going to be bespoke to the bag, and it's not going to be a tight fit. And if you're hiking up somewhere, you might want something that you know is not going to blow off, or you're trusting the bag to keep your gear dry. You probably want the reassurance that it's going to fit to the bag, it's not going to fly off, etc. They do hold gear safely. So again, if you spend a lot of money on your camera gear, you want to spend a bit of money on keeping your gear from knocking around. Cameras and lenses are tough, but you want to avoid them knocking on each other where possible. Now, I've said before, if you're taking one camera, one lens, you fit them together, you put them in your bag, you could put them in any bag. If you're worried, you could wrap them up in a towel, or a specific sort of camera wrap that you can get. But if you're taking more than one lens, you don't want things knocking against each other, rubbing, chipping, etc. So a camera bag does offer that protection, because it has a padded section with dividers that you can adjust to fit your gear in nicely and stop them moving about and knocking into each other. They also have nice features like pockets for memory cards, little sections for your filters. They're designed for camera users. And the idea is that you can access your kit quickly, or without the hassle of having to take everything out of your bag and then put it back in. You can quickly get to things. So one of the ones I use quite a lot has a zip up section down the front, and you zip it and it sort of opens up like a mouth. And at the bottom section, you've got all the dividers, so you can get your lens out and your camera out, etc. Of course, it's got other sections above it for your Kindle, your filters, your camera cards, etc. But the bottom bit is easy to access. You've got to take it off your back, but it's easy to access, and you can get your gear out quickly, and it's held there. Some can hold bespoke accessories like a tripod, or you can attach a tripod. I don't think they ever hold it very securely. They feel like an afterthought holding the tripod. Now, the disadvantages of a camera bag is they're expensive. I've spoken about how they feel to me like they're never right, and also the fact that they can be obviously a camera bag. Sometimes they look like a rucksack and you can't tell, and if you were to look at the make, you think that's a Low Pro, or that's a Manfrotto. Oh, that's a camera bag there, or that's probably the best one, are Amazon Basics, because they don't look so obvious and recognizable, but you can still sort of tell by the shape and where the zips are that it's a camera bag. So you need to think about, if you are in the market for a camera bag, how often you're going to use it, because you're probably not going to use it very often. And that's quite a key thing, because I've started to see camera bags pop up on used sales. So big retailers, big online retailers that sell used kit, they're starting to do camera bags. The reason for that is a camera bag is quite a big investment. You're probably looking between £20 and £50 for a camera bag that you're going to be happy with. So it's a big investment. It's quite a lot of money, and you're not going to use it all the time. You're not going to use it every day. And if you are, you probably want to spend a bit more money. And buying used, it's not going to be, the quality is not going to be bad. You're not going to have one where the zip's broken or anything. It's going to be a good quality. So as you're not going to be using it, consider buying used. Other tips, if you are shooting in the summer, or you are doing a long hike to get somewhere, then water is a key thing. When I go and do street photography in London, water isn't a key thing for me, because I'm going to stop in a restaurant, probably get myself some lunch. I'm going to stop, get a coffee. Well, I'll get a water when I get a coffee. But if I'm in the middle of the Lake District for the UK, or I'm in the middle of Grand Canyon, then I can't do that, so I've got to take water with me. It's always a good idea to get a camera bag that has plenty of holsters for water bottles that are on the outside, so that if your water bottle leaks, it's not leaking right next to your expensive kit. It's leaking on the outside, and one, if it's on the outside, you'll notice it, and two, you can quickly get it out without adding to the spill and more water being introduced into the mix. There are other things you can do. You can use a non-camera bag to put your camera gear in for not much money. You can adapt it. I have bought these sort of camera inserts that just go into a standard bag. They are padded and they've got Velcro in and they've got dividers. So you can essentially do what you do in a camera bag in your everyday bag. So that means I've used one of those to take my DSLR and a couple of lenses out to London with me. And I've just put it in my standard shoulder bag that looks nothing like a camera bag, that is beaten up, gruff and dirty, and I know no one's going to be interested in it. So that was maybe £7. So that has sort of a lid on, so I can keep things separate. I can carry my Kindle and everything, and I'm happy, and I know that my camera's going to get a fair bit of protection. You also need to consider that you're probably going to be having your camera on a strap. Quite a lot of the time it might not be in your bag, so you need to maybe try out your bag, put it on your shoulders, or put it over your shoulder if it's a messenger style bag, and then put your camera on you as well on your strap. So I use a black Rapid strap and a Peak Design strap. So you need to sort of see how those two things play next to each other. Do they rub? Are they compatible together? Or do they just get in the way and make it difficult to have your camera out on a strap? So you'll never be happy with camera bags, and I'm never happy with camera bags, and you end up collecting a lot of them. I'm just going to do a count of how many camera bags I've got. I think I've got about 6 camera bags, which is an astounding number. Another thing that you can do is if you're buying used gear, and it's older used gear, and it's from someone who has bought everything when they got their camera, so you're buying an old camera with a few lenses, it's likely you're going to get a camera bag with that. And those type of old style camera bags are obviously camera bags, but sometimes the old ones can be quite good, particularly for just storing camera bits in. Maybe because of the style and how obvious they are, because they say Canon down the side or Nikon or Sony, you don't want to take them out with you, but certainly they can be a good backup. Or sometimes they're quite small and you could fit them in a bigger bag. Certainly you don't need the best or the most modern, because I really don't think you're going to be using your camera bag that much. If you used it once a month, it'd only be 12 times a year. So do consider buying one. I mean, I've bought old cameras as a system just for the lens. And then I've had the bonus of having a camera and a bag and a few old memory cards and a few other accessories. And I found that quite useful. But really, I made that purchase because I wanted the lens. So what do you think about camera bags? Am I completely wrong? Is there a camera bag that does everything? I must say, I did get to try out the Peak Design Messenger bag that I thought was an amazing camera bag, and it was almost the perfect camera bag for me. It was a medium to large bag. One, it didn't look like a camera bag. Two, it had loads of really smart features that I really liked. Three, I couldn't carry a tripod in it or a light stand, but I never felt camera gear wise or lenses and cameras that, I can't fit this in. The only problem was it was, I think, £170. So it was a very expensive camera bag. Now, £170 is an astounding amount for a camera bag. There are lenses that are cheaper than that. I haven't bought it. even though I really liked it, because I didn't think it was worth it, which says, I didn't think a camera bag was worth that, so I didn't buy it. Maybe if I'd bought that instead of buying different bags at different stages, at different times for different things, for different systems, then maybe I would have had one bag to rule them all, but who knows? Let me know what you think. Do you have a specific camera bag? Do you have one camera bag, or like me, do you have more than one? Have you found the perfect camera bag? I really would love to know your thoughts, so do let me know. Don't forget to check me out on Patreon if you wanted to support the podcast and gain a few extras. Well, you can at patreon.com/160SPP. And don't forget to follow me on Twitter and have a look at the Facebook page. And rather than talk through those links, I'm just going to put them in the show note description. So do have a look at those and do follow the action. Thank you. Goodbye.